What are we? Well, Rio Tinto Alcan, and just to back up from that, Rio Tinto is probably the third largest mining company in the world. It has core businesses in mining of iron ore, copper, nickel, aluminium would probably be its top four businesses. The aluminium business essentially now is Rio Tinto Alcan, and that's a combination of existing bauxite and alumina smelting businesses that Rio Tinto had, and a combination of the purchase of Alcan. So we sit as one of the silos within Rio Tinto, and then the whole aluminium and bauxite and alumina business became Rio Tinto Alcan. And this slide depicts the four corners of Rio Tinto Alcan. Bauxite and alumina, these are mines predominantly around the equatorial regions. In Australia, as we have large strong holdings of bauxite mines and refineries. We then bring that refined bauxite, which we then call alumina, to smelters like Kitimat. So then the primary metal group in the top right is the metal division of that. Engineered products is essentially a business which is marketing, promoting, engineering the technological advantages of different metal alloys and different metal forms. That's actually up for sale. It was partly when Rio Tinto purchased Alcan, this was one of the areas that was to be divested, as is packaging. Interestingly, Alcan is probably one of the largest packaging companies in the world. The things that, if you have gum, a lot of the pharmaceutical products are actually plastic in a foil wrap, so you have the pop out on the foil. That's very likely an Alcan metal that's in those things, fancy foils, those things. But it's combinations of it.
Is that your boat?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's more than anything I wish. Yeah. So where are we? And I make no apology, the slide is not. No, these are not sites. They're essentially depicting areas and countries and the businesses within that. The ex-Europe, which is the highlighted circle there, you can see many small businesses. A lot of those were in the packaging and engineered products, particularly in the Eastern Bloc. If you look at the main heartlands of North America, then you have the full gambit. You have refining, smelting, energy, mining, and again in Australia. So two huge components of existing businesses in North America, the Alcan system, which is the Eastern Bloc of Quebec, Stikine, and of course the most important part of that is here in BC, which is Kitimat. And we're part of the North American business. Australia was a huge component of the Rio Tinto business in refining and smelting. There's 3 smelters in Australia and one in Tasmania, one in New Zealand. Actually, it's just the growth. Does this thing got a point?
Or the other unit there has a light on it.
Wow, multitasking. Excuse me. Not to worry. What I was just going to highlight was the growth areas being Middle East. We know in terms of the smelting businesses, the Middle East has really been a hotbed of smelting growth because of the gas and therefore the energy. For Alcan and Rio Tinto, those areas have been in Southern Africa, in Quebec, and of course our growth project here in Kitimat. So, where are we now? And just to give you a sense, and I want to talk about the existing business as well as the future business in KMP. No surprise, and maybe a little later than some, Rio Tinto announced obviously the impact of the global downturn. We saw all of the commodities, all of the major commodities that we are involved in, aluminium, copper, iron ore, had all fallen in value. Aluminium, for instance, is probably something like 40% of its peak value of 2007, 2008. It got it as high as about $3,200 a ton. It's now running sub $1,300 a ton. And it's changing, it's bouncing around in there. But significantly, it's dropped maybe 40 to 60% of its value. And all of the other commodities have gone also. So the value in terms of the revenue generation for Rio Tinto has diminished. pretty quickly. And of course, if you go back longer and you take that chart out on LME and you get out maybe 10 or even 20 years, of course we've been there before. In 1990, a number that sticks in my mind because I was in a smelter in the UK was $1,150 LME, London Metal Exchange metal. But of course that's close to 20 years ago. If you look at the inflation, then that 1150 is a very different number today. And of course our costs have inflated. Even if you use 1%, it's still 20% change in our cost base. So a sub $1,500 LME today, in my mind, is the equivalent of that 1150 back then. So we can see the chart. You can see it if you just look at it as a number on its own, but you have to take into consideration that it's not an index number. It's just literally a chart of the spot pricing. So the business's costs have changed. Therefore, the margin, and in fact we're in negative margins right now. Every ton of metal we're producing today in Kitimat is a ton that we're losing money on. So decisions are being made. And I explained to the council meeting about a week or 2 weeks ago in the district of Kitimat just what our plans are. Currently, we're still planning to run all of the old smelter. We're taking decisions on the number of pots that we're going to run within that. We have a plan to produce about 237,000 tonnes of metal this year and keep all of our folks employed. We have to reduce the costs. We've got to get the costs out. I've got a target of about $40 million that I need to get us into a solid position in 2009. Part of that is people. It's not all of that. Part of that is people in terms of hours, not actually numbers of people. We believe we can do all of this without having to impact the workforce physically. The number of hours, of course, is how we've been using overtime as a mechanism to help us prepare for the project, because we were ready to close down 7 and 8 last December in readiness for the project. We're not able to do that, so we're going to try and keep it running. But of course, last week we hit $1,200 LME. That's a work in progress. That if that stays at that level, that may well not be the case. The first message there is our people, to be protecting the people, protecting the existing business, so we can actually build the future. All of our, yes?
The European economy, the rate, the UK pound and the euro,
Yes.
much more than Canadian. Is the company considering looking at, as of Europe, more expensive than North American companies? Would it make sense to keep the North American companies more?
I think our cost base is better in North America for sure. Europe right now is not a great place to be smelting, and I don't take that lightly being a European. It's more than a English Scot, but no, it's a tough place to be in the smelting business. The cost, the currency exchange is one thing. The cost of energy is huge, and the competition for that energy is huge. If we were going to be doing anything anywhere, I think North America and I think BC is an absolute perfect place for that, which is why we're able to still continue looking at the project. And a lot of that is, of course, based around the hydroelectric assets that we have, including Kitimat. What we watch in currency terms is, of course, the Canadian dollar is one thing. We buy most of our bulk commodities in US dollars. We sell our metal in US dollars, but we pay all of our local exchanges Canadian. So there's pros and cons to when we get close to parity. There's advantages, but of course it's more costly in terms of your local base. We sell most of our metal into Asia, so the yen is a very prominent currency that we watch all of the time. So the exchange rate, so it's a three-way play between Canadian, US, and yen for this sector. So, long story short, all of our expenditure plans are under review. That's in the existing plan, as well as in our global growth projects. And we're going to take some tough decisions. The idea is, of course, we take the tough decisions to be ready. One, to have the business secure that we have in Kitimat, but also to have the growth project ready and be ahead of the market. And that's essentially what we're going to talk about this morning.